dice. So here we are once again.
The dice
are rolling. Yes.
They're currently in air, mid-air.
Yeah, and it's the dice, of course. It's not the die, because there's more than one. They are rolling. Can't say the dice is rolling, because that would be grammatically incorrect. Anyway, so here we are.
What was the assumption that there was more than one?
Well, you said the dice are rolling.
I did, but
that means more than one.
Why are we assuming that maybe I got it wrong?
You should have said the die is cast, you see. That's the other thing. But anyway, whatever the die is, or dice are doing, here we are again, episode 7 of series 2 of Grey's Anatomy. Oh no, the Impact Anatomy.
Narrative.
The Impact Narrative.
Mark, it's nearly our Christmas special.
It is, and I can't wait. And you can see the room is festooned with decorations, like, for example, a scarf with the kind of colours that Santa Claus might occasionally wear. And I'm not sure if it's visible, but in case it isn't, there it is. There, it's even less visible. You know, everything has got the Christmas spirit. I mean, this is has been decked out in white, which again is part of the colours that Santa Claus wears. So we couldn't be more Christmassy in spirit despite everything that's going on in the world. So Simon, what's been going on in the world?
Sometimes you just let him go and you see where he ends up.
Well, usually in this seat where I've been, according to our catalogue of back issues, I've been here for quite some considerable time, wearing probably the same clothes.
I didn't want to say anything. Those listeners who are purely getting this on SoundCloud or iTunes, it isn't a joke.
Right, no, well, nothing is. Anyway, so what's going on in the world that's particularly grabbed your attention, Simon? Because that is the purpose of the Impact Narrative. It gives us a chance to go on and on about things that are going on.
And on.
And on. And on. And some things are going on and on more than other things.
They certainly are. It's been a pretty standard week in the world, I think, hasn't it?
Okay. Well, it has. The stock markets are falling off a cliff. You know why? You're going to talk about the G20. Well, there was a kind of story that there was a deal, a truce between China and America, and so the stock markets went up quite sharply, and now they've gone down even more sharply.
Why is that?
Because there was no truce.
So why was there talk of a truce?
I think, well, with these things, it's all about spin, isn't it? That the meetings take place in private, and you know, with the people that you're particularly interested in particular, you know, people from Saudi Arabia, etc. What goes on stays behind closed doors, but it's talked about as if there are done deals, things like that, and then nothing concrete often comes out of them. In this case, it seems that nothing at all.
Other than a lot of spin.
A lot of spin, yeah, which is rather, because I did allude to this before the meeting, and I said that hopefully they'd be talking about this constructively, and it almost to me seems that things are worse than they were before the summit, which is a great sort of tribute to the function of summit meetings. Summit meetings are meetings where people air their disagreements and come to even sharper disagreements at the end of it.
Indeed.
So, what's been going on, Simon, apart from me saying that?
We've had a G20, we've had some Brexit happenings.
Ah, have we?
We've had some UKIPing.
Oh yes, we have indeed.
We've had some football, we've had some fear-mongering.
Oh really? What, not the Ramonas again?
Oh, everyone, I think.
Anyway,
and
where are we going to start?
Some music.
Some music. Oh right, that person that you were talking about before, who's worse than Taylor Swift.
Yeah, well.
Wow. Anyway, let's go.
I don't know where to start, Mark. I mean, do we start with the G20? Do we start with
if you've
collection of world leaders meeting last week in Argentina? Talk of an arrest of Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi Crown Prince, under the universal jurisdiction with regard to the Jamal Khashoggi affair. Didn't happen.
No, surprise, surprise.
Strange that. What did happen was he met Mr. Macron.
Ah!
Did you see this?
Oh no, I leave that to you.
So you didn't see
I close my mind to, I have a file that these are Simonish issues, and I then talk in a really deliberately ignorant way about them, in order to draw from you your reservoirs of wisdom.
Right, okay.
If I knew something about it, then it would throw the whole balance of the programme, which has been so delicately created.
It would actually.
And your fount of wisdom is, of course, derived from, is this Wikipedia?
Damn it, Mark.
No, don't say nasty things about Wikipedia. Oh, I see, sorry, you said, talk about me rather than...
Yes. No, no, I'm just
And
checking
what does Mr. Google tell you?
The cricket scores.
Right. Okay,
There is
so
a
Mr.
cricket
Macron, so we've got Mr. Macron,
So
and
Mr.
he's
Macron and
had
Mr. Khashoggi, they had a bit of a meeting. I think you're going in a certain direction that we'll get to in a second. But
Okay.
But there was a conversation that was overheard between these two.
Right. Because, of course, his troubles have all been solved because the price of oil has crashed. So
Yes.
he can raise fuel taxes as much as he wants now because oil is kind of free.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Exactly. But this meeting on the fringes of the G20 between Mr. Macron and Mr. bin Salman was caught, and Macron was overheard saying, "We told you, you need to be very careful. We're very concerned."
Right.
And the Saudi response, or the response of the Saudi Crown Prince, was essentially, "Ha ha 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 ha. Yes, I know. Ha ha ha."
Right. It could have been him saying that, really.
And yeah, rather condescending,
Right.
patronising. "Okay, go away now, you silly little man."
Okay.
Now,
Wow.
these two have got quite a bit of history with regard to the Rafik Hariri case. If you remember,
No, of course not.
no, sorry, not Rafik Hariri, Saad Hariri.
Oh,
Rafik's
that
son,
makes all the world of difference. Yeah. That case.
The Lebanese
Explain it.
Prime Minister.
Oh, yeah, of
who
course.
was
Yeah.
detained in Riyadh.
Yeah.
And if reports are to be believed, then Mr. Macron is responsible for getting Saad Hariri out of Riyadh.
Right. I see. Right. So.
Leading to a wonderful selfie that was taken with Macron, Hariri and bin Salman.
Okay.
And
But
it
not
was-
at the G20.
No, this
No.
was earlier last year, but it was absolutely fabulous. And I am blaming you for this yawning.
Yeah. No.
This is entirely your fault for bringing round a bottle of a rather odd colour of wine last night.
Yeah. Well, I do apologise to all viewers, listeners, and well-wishers for the fact that Simon overindulged by a thimbleful of wine past
just a
his
one
lips,
thimbleful.
and that was quite enough.
There was more than enough. But anyway, that was
Yeah. So there's that
an
anecdote.
interesting little meeting there.
Yeah. And Putin. Putin
Yes.
met the Saudi. No, didn't. That would be mutual disappointment all round. Right. Okay. I thought he was going to meet up with him.
I don't know, Mark.
Right. And of course Erdogan.
Yeah.
Did he meet up with him? I'm sure they did all on the fringes. They all kind of had liaisons, clandestine, with little notes left in each other's jacket pockets.
As one does at
Meet me in Bowland North 25 or something like that.
Furness
Lecture Theatre 3 at 1 o'clock next week. This is an unstructured discussion. So the G20, is that really it?
Yeah, I mean nothing really
No.
seemed to. There wasn't really the big news story that came out. There
No.
wasn't the big photo opportunity that people were hoping for. There was a lot of concern about whether Mrs. May was going to be seen shaking hands with the tyrant Mohammed bin Salman.
Johnson. Oh, right. Oh, I see. Right.
And yeah, it all seemed to be a bit of a damp squib, to be honest.
Right. Okay. So that's one damp squib out of the way, but other things are going on in your neck of the woods, I'm sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's continued events in Yemen. There are peace talks going on at present. The UN Special Envoy for the Yemen conflict, Martin Griffiths, is trying desperately to bring the various parties together to at least get a ceasefire, if not something more serious. But as is the case with these conflicts,
Yeah.
it's incredibly difficult to do. There's
Yeah.
a complete lack of trust, a complete breakdown of communications, and how you actually build peace between different parties who are at war, continuing to bomb one another. Launching missiles at respective capitals, bombing hospitals and other key bits of infrastructure, and amidst allegations of war crimes, building trust, which is an absolutely essential part of peace building, is obviously incredibly difficult.
Right. Yeah, and Khashoggi, any developments there? You mentioned him in dispatches.
There were a couple of US senators who said, well, we kind of get the impression he was behind it. We kind of think there's very little chance that he wasn't responsible for ordering the... Right, okay, so
Good.
It's
So-
rumbling on.
Stories are rumbling on in the Middle East.
They are.
And whereas in Brexit, into Brexit land,
We're
things
going there already. Well, I
Well,
wondered if you'd want to take a slight detour to Paris.
Okay, let's go there. Oh, the boulevards, the wine, the song, the
Fromage.
history, the cheese. Go on, I'm there. I'm really there.
excellent. And what are you seeing, Mark?
I'm seeing the ceiling of a public house having drunk too much wine and passing out.
Is this memory or is this wishful thinking?
Both.
Excellent. Well, no, if
Wishful
you were,
memory.
If you were in Paris over the weekend, you'd have seen.
Oh, lots of writing. Well, I've
lots
said
of
about
writing.
that.
Well,
but
you were intimated.
It's all solved now.
It's all gone.
No. Well, they've done a U-turn, haven't they? Mr. Macron has done what Mr. Blair did in the year 2000. I was talking to a colleague of mine the other night, who is British politics lecturer, retired,
Right.
and
Of this parish.
he had entirely forgotten that in the year 2000, he genuinely had entirely forgotten that in the year 2000, similar protests, not violent ones, more, sort of making the country grind to a halt protests, had caused Tony Blair, in his pomp, to basically scrap proposed fuel tax
Of course,
changes,
yeah.
whatever. No, this person had completely forgotten. It's 18 years ago, it doesn't seem that long ago to me.
Had
But
a
anyway,
dramatic impact on my musical career.
really?
It did.
What, you wrote a song about it?
No, I
Called
was
Bringing Britain to a Halt.
yes.
That was a chorus.
That was never released. But,
No, no, but it should be, and it will be soon.
Well, it will. It's been leaked.
I'm sitting in my lorry. It could be a blues number, couldn't it? Sitting in my lorry, deliberately driving slow. All the rest of the traffic is no longer gonna flow.
I'm waiting for the next line.
I'm
But
bringing
I'm
Britain
hooked.
to its knees. So please, please, please. Never mind.
Oh,
Go on.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, go
next
on. Go on.
week at
Mr.
the,
Blair's going to do a U-turn. Otherwise, London's going to burn.
It's spectacular.
Yeah,
I'm bringing
all
my
we need
guitar
is-
next week.
Yeah. Taylor Swift on vocals and you. Anyway, go on.
Well,
Let's
no,
get going.
This is amazing, Mark.
So
Although I
Paris.
still have
I'm in
the
Paris. I'm
earworm
looking at the
of,
ceiling, and outside there's lots of rioting, and then there's a U-turn.
And then there's a U-turn, just
that's
like
the end of
Mr.
it.
Blair did in the
In
year
2000, it was back in the year
It's a long time ago.
2000, and this song will be soon covered by Barbara Streisand. No, it doesn't really go. It'll be covered by Bono.
I'm too tired for this.
So,
It was going to happen at some point, Mark.
it's
but
covered by Bono, and the world said, "Oh no." Yeah, I just need a tune really because it's a bit monotonous. So Brexit, which talk about monotonous.
So we've dealt with.
have you
Paris,
done
haven't we?
Macron? Have you done all that?
Well, I don't think this is going away anytime soon. He might have taken the sting out of it for now, but
Taking a sting out rather than Bono. Anyway, go on.
taking the Bono out of it.
Yeah, talk
the
about
Bono.
global world
Yeah.
benefactors.
But this is not going away. I don't think this is. I think a much deeper structural issue in Paris and indeed across France. That Macron is deeply unpopular. He was elected in the sense that he wasn't Front National.
Yeah, clearly not.
But he's not speaking for the majority of Parisians, of course. He's not speaking for the majority of the French. He's not addressing the socio-economic challenges that are there, that are deep, that are latent, but becoming increasingly manifest in French politics. It's having a massive detrimental impact, and there will be other instances like this unless something is done.
Right.
More U-turns.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because of course Paris was designed with riot control in mind. Did you know that?
It was.
Yeah. The wide boulevards,
Indeed.
much better for clubbing your opponents.
Yeah.
Yeah, gathering them together into clubbable areas. Anyway, so
It's a rather dark turn.
we thought that things were bad here, but obviously not. I wish, I did wish I was in Paris, but now I'm glad I'm here in Britain, where it's just chaos rather than violent chaos yet.
Well, the violence has been taken out. I mean, there's still a latent chaos, but here there is just chaos.
Just chaos. Yeah.
So, Mark, I'll be honest with you. I'm losing track of things. I'm losing track of life. But I'm losing track of where we're at with Brexit. We're in day 3, 4, 5 of debate.
Yeah, and still going on. Yeah.
So tell us about the debate then. What's happening right now?
Well, what's happening? Bianca knows a lot about this. She's been following it avidly, and I haven't, because, well, it's been thematic. There's been security talked about, and today it's more, I think, on the economy. But really, the overriding theme is we don't like Mrs. May's. It's people lining up to say we don't like Mrs. May's deal, and so in that sense, the maths that Mrs. May is up against haven't really changed.
Okay,
There's been no mass conversions.
So
to
before
her.
we get to the maths,
Right.
and the mass.
Yeah.
The point of this is what? To let Parliament have its say
It's
on the deal?
a meaningful vote after protracted debate where there's kind of no limit, really.
So this is
They'll talk till they're exhausted.
protracted debate.
Yeah.
There was a tweet, I can't remember who it was from, but I'm tired just thinking about it. But it was from about 1:20 a.m. saying, I hope you're all getting a good night's sleep. I'm just gearing up to have my question answered.
So your insomnia, you were trying to cure it by listening to the Brexit,
indeed,
and even that didn't work. So you really are.
I'm struggling.
Yeah. So,
this is a prolonged, protracted parliamentary debate about...
Yeah, well, a long time ago, Mrs. May conceded that Parliament would be able to have what she called a meaningful vote on the terms of withdrawal, and this is it. But it isn't a meaningful; it's a meaningless debate because nobody's mind is going to be changed by the debate. People's minds might be changed by other things, but they won't be changed by the debate.
What about beyond Westminster then? Is this going to have any impact on the British public whatsoever?
All you can gather, I haven't seen opinion polls for a little while, but all one can gather is that when MPs went back to their constituencies in the last week or two, it doesn't seem that they got a message which supports the idea of a hard, basically a no-deal Brexit. I think that you can gather that.
Right.
Because that option, it does seem that MPs of all parties are united. The majority of MPs are united to try and prevent that happening, which of course is incredibly ironic. And this is the thing I was going to talk more about, the implications rather than the detail. The implications of this are really quite staggering in that at the last general election you had both of the main parties in the UK accepting that Brexit was going to take place in their manifestos.
Yes.
And yet it's pretty clear that there's either a near majority or a majority in the House of Commons of people who actually think that it should either be made as soft as possible or not happen at all. So it makes it, you talk about representative democracy and a mandate from the people, and yet somehow we've ended up with a bunch of parliamentarians who are not prepared to carry forward, or are sort of at variance from the platforms on which they fought the last general election. Now, the last general election was a year ago, and it's all part of a succession of incidents where politicians have voted in particular ways, not because of their personal judgment, and not really necessarily because of a feeling that they needed to bow to the will of the people or whatever, but for reasons which are kind of obscure. So, for example, the vote to pave the way for the referendum in the first place was overwhelmingly in favour. The vote to dissolve Parliament in 2017 was overwhelmingly in favour, and yet it's pretty obvious that if you leave these people to free choices, they would have opposed the referendum and opposed the calling of a general election. They did it because they felt, for one reason or another, that they had to.
Yeah.
So it's like Edmund Burke in the 1780s or whatever to the electors of Bristol. Instead of saying, you elect me because of my independent judgment and then you hold me to account at the end of my term of office, it's like Edmund Burke should really have said, you have elected me because you can trust me to vote in a certain way because I feel I have to. That's representative democracy in Britain today. And this is happening at the same time where Parliament is about to take control of this process. At least if it can, it will. Because if Mrs. May's deal goes west, she's going to basically have to talk to Parliament like a US president talks to Congress.
Right.
She's going to have to, she's already doing this, she's trying to persuade Parliament. And once she's been defeated, it'll be more like negotiating with Parliament about the next step. And this is a representative body which is only representative on the thinnest possible understanding of that word, that it is a fact that these people were elected to serve in Parliament. But if you're looking for any other way in which they're representative, I'm afraid it's less representative than Parliament has ever been. In other words, in the age of rotten boroughs, the politicians who, like old Sarum or whatever, who were elected by 3 non-resident voters or whatever, those MPs actually thought about what they were doing a lot more than the people who we've got now. They vote because they feel they have to in a particular way.
Sure, I can.
Shameful.
Yeah. I can see how this would lead on to quite a serious crisis of politics in Britain.
Yeah, oh, it is. Well, we're in the middle of it. We've talked about this before.
But
yeah.
I mean, in terms of where this could end up, this could be incredibly serious.
Yeah.
Just.
Yeah, well, the worst of it, just briefly cut in on you, to say that there's a chance that there might be a general election, and you could say that the general election is a good way of the people holding their elected representatives to account, but the general election is going to be fought over Brexit. And it's again going to elect a whole load, 650 people, I think still, with the boundary changes coming down the line, who are going to vote because they feel they have to, for one reason or another, rather than either exercising their independent judgment, even voting along with their party, because the party discipline is pretty well, you know, certainly on the Tory side is completely suspended. On the Labour side, it's holding it well at the moment. But as we get closer to the point where Parliament might be taking responsibility for the shape of the deal, you'll find that Labour's party discipline comes more under threat.
So you referred to opinion polls, and I've just pulled up details from YouGov.
Right, later on, the Survation was the last one I saw, which is more than a week ago, so go on.
38%, the latest one from the 5th.
Right.
38% are in favour of Brexit.
Right.
49% are against.
Right, so that's a binary question.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that if that's right, and then there's the don't knows and all that sort of thing. People who haven't watched the news very much for 2 years,
the news
or
people anything else.
Well, no, people who genuinely don't know because either they've been bamboozled by all these various arguments, or you know, they see either option as being bad. But that would be a change. Yeah. You know, because it's been within very narrow margins. That's not a narrow margin. That's the kind of vote which, if replicated in a referendum, would genuinely be decisive, rather than the 52-48, which we know. The BBC, I think, have had a directive to talk about it as an overwhelming. I heard somebody
52-48.
I heard somebody saying the British public voted overwhelmingly. An interviewer, a BBC interviewer, saying the British public voted overwhelmingly for, and you know, I wonder whether that is a policy, because the argument for a second referendum, the strength of it would be, first of all, the terms are now known. And the second one is that the first time it was really a scoreless draw, unlike Everton versus Newcastle last night.
How we are the lads.
Aye. Good.
But in terms of moving forward then, so where does this go?
Well, after the vote Mrs May might be tempted to. The thing about Mrs May, she digs her heels in until her heels snap off under the pressure. And in this instance, I don't think she can row back from the vote. After the vote, that's the thing that there will. I think the
vote is on.
It's on Tuesday. I think that almost certainly they will have to withdraw Article 50 application, because there just isn't time. It seems to me. You know, Parliament can discuss all it wants about what they want the deal to look like. The withdrawal bill. Remember, this is just the withdrawal bill. It isn't the future relationship at all. That's another story. But the thing is, it then has to be signed off by the EU. Yep. So the EU have agreed that Mrs May's deal is the best compromise that they can see, and now whoever is Prime Minister, presumably Mrs May, is going to have to go back and start the whole process again.
Except
unbelievable.
Doing it all, a process that has thus far taken about 20 months.
Yeah. Well, no, but
condensed into 3.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah. So
excellent.
I can't see that deadline being met. I just can't see that March the 29th, or whatever it is.
So, is this going to be pushed back, or do you genuinely think that?
I think it's after the vote. I think Mrs May is going to be able to say, if people want us to withdraw as on schedule, you're going to have to vote for my deal. But the trouble is that MPs have said that they're not going to. It's not just that there's a mood that they're not going to vote against it.
And
They
the vote
put it
is
on
what,
record.
Mark? Exactly, the wording of the vote is.
Well, there's going to be lots of amendments, but it will be accept or reject. The key vote will be accept or reject the
Right.
deal negotiated by Mrs May and others.
So by the next time we record this show,
There'll have been
there will have been a vote. Will we see Mrs May being toppled?
Well, it depends on how big the defeat is.
Right.
And of course we haven't
Not
even...
if there's a defeat, but
Yeah,
how big there is.
No, I think that if she manages to keep it within... I mean, apparently Jacob Rees-Mogg was saying it could be within 5 votes or something like that. I think it's more realistic, something like 40 or 50.
Right.
If she's got that, then she could say that she's done her best, but for reasons or another the deal wasn't perfect, and that she could perhaps preside over... You know, basically, if the mood of the House of Commons is in favour of a deal that's similar to Mrs May's deal, then I think she can carry on. The big trouble, of course, the DUP being so consistent as always, they're our favourites. So they've said that they would support her in a vote of confidence. They don't want a general election, I imagine. But the thing is, it's they who are making the biggest problem by going on and on and on about the hypothetical circumstances that might arise if we needed this backstop thing over Northern Ireland. So they're the ones that are making it more likely that there'll need to be a vote of no confidence, which they're going to reject.
Amazing.
Yeah, well, but it's all amazing. It's all Alice in Wonderland stuff. The only person who is plodding on consistently is Mrs May. And people like Keir Starmer, but even they can't really say what they really want, which is openly all the time to just say, we can't settle this without a second referendum, because his party still is dithering between general election.
Mark, there's one other person that I think we need to touch on in British politics.
Oh, yeah.
We are
Running out of time.
rapidly out of time.
Yeah.
But I think we need to say well done, congratulations
To Mr Farage.
To Mr Farage.
Yeah. Fromage, Mr Bono.
Yeah, Nige.
Okay, well, should we settle on Farage?
Sure.
Mr Farage. Whatever his name, he played a blinder. No, it's not just that he resigned as leader over this issue. He resigned in terms which I think showed, lines in the sand, sort of, I'm prepared for a party to indulge in certain things, but
He has
no
stepped
further.
back from UKIP on the involvement and support for
the Tommy Robinson band.
Yeah. Which is such a sad thing, because the Tom Robinson band is wonderful, but
You think so?
I do.
Opinions differ.
Um,
Power in the Darkness. I bought that.
But Tommy Robinson obviously is a deeply divisive figure whose actions over the past couple of years have been incredibly detrimental to social cohesion and not particularly pleasant chap.
Yeah. So Mr Farage has he's in so many words I think confirmed suspicions that after Brexit UKIP had a choice of directions, but the direction, because the British National Party, having been quite a considerable force in British politics at the beginning of the noughties, is now basically defunct, and so UKIP seems to be moving into its territory pretty enthusiastically, and Mr Farage has basically exposed this. Where he goes next, but I think probably chat show events.
ITV.
Is that where he's going?
Oh, I think so.
I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. He'd be great there. He'd be showing, true British spirit all the way through.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. Have you heard of that? It's a popular entertainment programme.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Where are they?
Australia, you know all about it. You're feigning ignorance. So
that sounds rather comfortable.
So that was good. And then sport, Newcastle, look like they're going to...
In Rafa we trust.
Indeed, and Arsenal, we watched it last night as you were getting
indeed.
more and more, the thimble of wine is being consumed.
And oh dear, very frustrating. But
But
Jose, we trust as well if we're anyone but a Man United fan.
yeah, indeed.
So, Mark, we are out of time,
Oh.
I fear, but we do have to do one last plug for next week.
Okay.
Next week is going to be a wonderful show, our Christmas special, our Brexit special,
Yeah.
the first ever recording
I know.
of the
Before
Impact
live.
Narrative live.
Yeah. We can't
In front
wait.
of a live studio audience, sorry, a live lecture theatre audience, Christmas trimmings, mince pies, mulled wine.
Will not be available.
Will
be among other things that are not available.
Or eaten, drunk by us.
Of course, your mulled wine will be in
Will
the
be
thimble.
a thimble.
Yeah. So it's next week, and it's at
1
1 o'clock.
2 for anyone who's interested on Lancaster University's Balerig campus.
A highly prestigious Balerig
University
campus.
of the Year.
Wow. Yeah. The hallowed halls of Furness will play host for the first time to record a live recording of this very show, in which we'll be wearing these very clothes and saying very much the same sort of things.
Although we may be talking about a new government.
We may be talking about a new government in France as well as in Britain.
The new Manchester United manager.
Wow.
But all of the old favourites are coming back, Mark.
Okay.
Tide Times,
Oh yeah.
Book of the Week,
John Stuart Mill news.
updates.
Long neglected favourites.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be a quieter week. We'll get time
Well,
to put these in.
Of course, when we did a radio show, we played music as well, didn't we?
Oh, maybe
So
we could do
maybe
that,
I'll
yeah.
sing a song.
Excellent, I'll bring the guitar.
The 2000 Fuel Crisis Blues.
Part 2.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's all. That's all we've got time for this week, and we'll hope you all have a pleasant and peaceful week in the meantime. Unlike Mrs. May.
Indeed. So until then, you can do all the usual things like subscribe, listen, share, repeat, play on repeat, say nice things about us.
No, but we say Spotify. Do we say Spotify?
We say Spotify.
Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Instagram.
iTunes.
Oh well, I can't be.
Apparently you can do something on Instagram.
Well, I'm sure you can do any number of things, but we better
Boomerang.
not. Boomerang.
Excellent.
Okay, so lots of those, lots of vehicles, lots of platforms on which you can view or listen to us, and we'll sound equally, equally, whatever on all of them, and hopefully it'll be a thumbs up rather than a thumbs down. But responses are welcome from everyone who does the thumbs up thing.
Until next time.
Yeah.